Hi, Kenda Ruth here from The Hero Spouse, here to answer one of your questions about marriage and midlife crisis. Today we have Jessica. Jessica's bomb drop was May of 2020. Her date of marriage is January of 2002. She has, an MLCer who has not moved out of the house before, so he is an at-home MLCer, and he is a low-energy wallower. Jessica says, I'm 99% certain that my low-energy wallower, who is 42, is deep in withdrawal and depression. He's been that way for about 5 to 6 months. He's been woken to the fact that his workmate and Limerent Object, who is 28, was a complete fantasy he concocted in his own head and knows that there's no chance for anything to happen with her. She has never reciprocated. He is very self-deprecating and blames himself for being a loser, wishes he was dead. He's a failure, no ambition, loss of creativity. He's an artist. On and on. No one needs him and no one would miss him if he dies. This is all the things that he is saying. He's intimate with me when he has had a few drinks, but after a few months of that, I put up my boundary that this is no longer okay. If it takes alcohol to want to be with me, then that is just not okay. He needs to want me when I'm sober too. I'm very fortunate that he's attending therapy weekly. I'm feeling more and more detached as time goes by, and I guess I just want to know the best way to navigate this. Well, I'm glad you're detaching, because that is the best way to navigate it is understanding and detaching. And I want you to realize, and which I know you do, is that you have a depressed spouse. So think of this as a clinical depression and start to not only learn about MLC as you've been doing, but also learn about how do I deal with depression in my spouse? What do I do when I have a depressed spouse? I was even wondering if we have a stereotype of an artist as the depressed artist. And when Elliot Jacques coined the term midlife crisis, he'd done it from studies of artists. And those were the ones that had midlife crisis at a certain age. And so he was specifically isolating artists in his midlife crisis study. So artists and midlife crisis, artist and the idea of the depressed artist is kind of a stereotype. But I want you to think about what you can learn. So this book is Morning Has Broken. I don't know if it can be seen well on the screen here. It is by Emmy and Philip Aronson, and it's a couple's journey through depression. I like it. I read it many years ago. But Emmy's husband, Philip, went through depression, a clinical depression, not a midlife crisis. And they wrote this book based on that, with her doing most of the writing, but I believe it might be every other chapter. But I really felt when I was reading it, I was reading Emmy's words in this. And I think it was just a very good memoir type of book of understanding what it is to deal with a depressed spouse, rather than a clinical type of book. So it's not a how-to, but it might give you the feeling of community in that. And any other books you can find on dealing with depression, because it's great that you learn about MLC, but I want you to treat this as a depression and learn about that from the context of how do I help my spouse, or how do I be a spouse to someone who is depressed, to someone with clinical depression, that sort of thing, because that's what you're dealing with. I want you to praise him, and I want you to set boundaries for him, both of those things. I want you to understand what's going on. Infidelity is depression's dirty secret. It is on some of the symptom lists, not all of them, because it's the dirty secret. But when I saw it on lists in books when I was reading them, and then many of the things that were on those lists would be the chapter headings, and depression and infidelity somehow got left off. That's kind of a big one, don't you think? So we don't really associate the two things together, but they are together. So understand that. He sounds like is he suicidal? Do you have a hotline? Are you in therapy yourself? Coaching therapy, just something to help you deal with the stress and how to handle it. Yes, you need to set those boundaries. But at the same time, understand just buck up and pull out of it, because you want to have a regular spouse and a regular life and a regular sex life, which we get. But it's not going to happen because you say something that would say, you just need to do this. We just need to fix this. Can't you do this? And I'm not saying you're doing that. I want you to just make sure that you are practicing that detachment, practicing that mindfulness, because you can't fix his depression. The only thing you can change is how you respond to it, how you handle it. Not manage, because it's his to manage, but how you handle the context of that situation in your life and the environment with your family, with any kids you have. That's the pieces that are in your control, and you have to let go of what's in his control. Ask him sometimes, what do you need from me? Is there something you need from me? Do you just need me to be here? Praise him as he needs praising. But understand, sometimes you're going to say something and it's praise, and they double down backwards toward, you're just saying that because, and use the positives we give them as more reason to validate their own depression. And that's what a depressed person does. And that's what an anxious person does. And a stressed person, they're feeling a certain feeling. And when you say something that doesn't fit with that narrative, you can keep saying it, but they're going to try and make it fit the narrative. You're just saying that because, so then now it fits their narrative. Okay, you're in a difficult situation, but I mean, we all are, I know that, but you have him at home. Be gentle, but do what I want you to do is I want you to do things that'll work on you. Keep that detachment. Keep up on mindfulness. It's self-care right now because you need it, because you are bound to get frustrated and taking it out on him, and that's not going to help the situation, is it? So, good luck, and I hope this was helpful. I will see everybody in the next question.